So since we have like a very tight knit group of loyal TRN members here, I happen to make this very interactive, and I'd also appreciate feedback on this because we're always looking for different ways to improve how we present this to people. So the company that I'm working with, as Michael I think said in his email, is I'm basically a fractional CMO for this company called Zage, and so we are an on-demand elder services app, and our slogan, as you can see here, is "When you can't be there, we are," and I'll explain that. Okay. So a little bit about the background, the genesis of Zage. So there's a consultancy called My Elder, which I think is the longest lasting independent elder advocacy consultancy in the US. And they've been in business for over 45 years. I think I was in junior high school when they started. And they've helped lots of families with issues about being elderly, right? Like, how do you get your elderly, relative into a nursing home, or how do you stay out of a nursing home, or all those kinds of things. And then they've created Zage based on, all this experience that they've had. So the problem that we're trying to solve with Zage, and I don't know if this applies to anybody on the call, is that often we have some level of, people of our generation often have some level of responsibility for an elderly relative, right? So they don't live with us, they're semi-independent, but sometimes, they need help, like going to the doctor. When I got vaccinated on Thursday, every elderly person, and an elderly person I define as anybody, 20 years older than me, right? But every elderly person was there with somebody, right? Generally like, relative. Or they might just need help, going to the store or going to a friend, getting and by home services, we mean like, getting a furniture delivery, plumber shows up, all that kind of stuff. But often when your relative needs that help, you can't necessarily be there, right? So the result is this: stress. And the idea is that when you can't be there, as I said, we are. And one of the founders, when he's asked to describe our business, he says that we're in the guilt mitigation business, right? Because, when your elderly relative needs help, they feel guilty calling you. Hey, Michael, can you take me to the doctor next week, right? But then now Michael feels guilty because like, oh, I'm really busy and so on and so forth. So we eliminate all of that. So that's the idea. Okay, so just a little bit of text. Sorry about that. So, but very simply, there's really 4 elements, right? So we're an on-demand service because we use technology, we're technology like everybody else. Couple of service elements is that you get to pick the provider you want. We give you a list with some of the credentials and ratings. It's, like Yelp and everything else. And you get to pick, unlike like Uber, where just, somebody just shows up at your doorstep. Also, based on the experience of the founders, the 45 years plus, is they're very careful about vetting, training, selecting, and monitoring the people who we send. And there are similar services that are somewhat similar, but they're more like like a TaskRabbit or something where it's just a marketplace. I mean, our idea is if somebody's going to your aunt's house, it's somebody who's a team member and that we have some responsibility for. And then there's, the geolocation and algorithms and all the other, tech stuff that everybody, that's sort of mandatory these days. So here's a quick look at the app itself. So obviously this is just the front page, but so the way it works is fairly straightforward. You register both yourself and your elderly relative. You pick what service you need, shopping, doctors, so on and so forth. You schedule it. And then you're given this list that I mentioned of people that you can pick from, right? And so they're available at the times you need, and that they're capable of handling the services that you need. So what we've really done is we've kind of created, we're thinking as a virtuous circle, right? So it's, here's my mouse. So you're down here, right? You're the caregiver, and you need to make sure your aunt gets to the doctor. We send our team members, whom we call Zage pros, and they're all 1099 type folks, but then the elderly relative gets the help they need, whether it's shopping, doctor visits, all those kinds of things. So it's a fairly straightforward service. Let me stop at this and see if anybody had any questions.
So I assume it's local, it's regional?
Yes, that's exactly. That's one of the tricky parts about this is that we're starting with the New York City area, Manhattan, Bronx, Queens, just because obviously if you use it, we have to be able to send somebody to your aunt's house.
Is this going to be an app?
Yeah, yes, it is an app. So
Yes.
so this is what the app looks like. So we have a website that's very rudimentary, but everything is about driving you to the app and getting you to register.
Yeah, because I was curious, because I just looked on my phone and there is already an app called Zage
Yeah.
there.
Yes,
That has nothing to do with this.
correct. One of the well, this is one of the bane of a CMO's existence, right? They couldn't get Zage, so everything is branded Get Zage. So that's a good point. What I need to do is more look at is put that on, right? So for example, if we're sending you an email, right, you just click on the link and it doesn't really matter. Whereas you're right, when I give these presentations, I guess I should be clearer that it's Get Zage because people are going to do exactly what you just did, right? And then they're going to be confused and.
But are you going to be like, but could they, this Zage, whatever it is, could they sue you for using their name or whatever?
I don't think so. I know we've had a couple of lawyers look at it and we do have a trademark.
Okay.
Hopefully though, the biggest problem for now is really just market confusion,
Yeah.
which is obviously a big enough issue, as it is. All right. So our target, oh, sorry, go ahead, Audrey.
Yeah,
Yes.
talking about confusion, what's the difference between this Sage and the other Sage?
There's a whole, as it turns out, I guess there's no unique names anymore. There's a whole bunch of different Zages.
Okay, but you have a trademark, right?
Yes. Yes. And we, yes,
Like it's already, I know you filed it, but is it already approved?
I believe it's been approved. Yes.
Okay, so nobody farted on potential confusion because you're
sorry.
different. So, I guess you're doing what you do is completely different from the other Sages.
Yes. Yes. From what we've seen, our service is completely different. Because and partly it's because like Zage is sort of it's a made up word, right? So people have used it for all kinds of different purposes. But that's a good question, Audrey. Thanks.
Right. So that's why, if you know you're looking for Sage that helps the elderly and another Sage pops up, you would know that you have the wrong Sage.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. I
Just
agree.
wanted to clarify that. But
No,
yeah, honestly, you could make a gazillion dollars down here because let me tell you, I told you before, I could have used this when my dad was alive.
Okay. Well, that's good to
So-
know. But you're right. It would certainly help if we could help if people knew where to find us.
Yeah,
So
but you need to be local.
Yes, I agree.
And down here, we have a lot of people that whether or not their families are here, they still need the help.
Yes, that's
so
true.
Florida would definitely, South Florida would definitely be a good place to open
yeah.
up another region.
Yes, in fact, that's our next plan. Is after we get rolling on the New York market, then the South Florida is definitely the next place to go. So that's point number one. Yeah, the other point I just want to respond to is you're correct in that the adult child and the senior obviously do not have to be in the same location, right? So if your aunt lives, so for example, Audrey, if you had relatives in the city who needed help, right, you could then arrange that through us because it's really just a question of where do the seniors themselves live.
So that's somewhat of a challenge because I assume you're marketing to the adult children more so than you are to the seniors themselves.
Correct.
And although you are geographically focused on where the seniors are, their kids could be anywhere.
Correct.
How do you find them?
That's right. So for now, we're kind of starting more or less with the idea that the kid, if we're marketing to the kids, and we're starting by marketing to the kids in the New York City area, right? With the hope that their relatives are also in the New York City area, right? So, but for example, like we could market this to you, Michael, and your aunt lives in San Francisco, right?
Right.
Well, sorry, we can't help you.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a weird thing. That's why we need to eventually get to, national domination as quickly as possible. And then the issue goes away. The other reason we're going, obviously
So by
starting
the
with
way, 4.5 more minutes.
the other reason obviously we're starting with the adult children is because they're more tech savvy, and obviously they have this responsibility. In fact, my brother used to do this for my mother in Minneapolis. When she needed to go to church, she would call him. He would send an Uber to her house, and then when service was over, she would call him. He'd send an Uber to the church, right? So what we do differently is that we actually would stay with people. So if they're at the doctor's, we stay there and we wait with them, and then we make sure they get back, right? But so that's why the group that we're looking at is basically people in this age range, more or less, 45 to 75, and people who are willing to pay for the convenience that we offer. And
What's
in
the
order
typical,
to,
is it done by on an hourly basis?
yes, we right now I think our charge is $52 per hour. And so, obviously, if you're in one of these categories, your time is presumably worth more than $52 an hour. Okay. So with regard to TRN itself, right? So obviously our target market is the adult children of the seniors. Obviously, certainly if people, if the seniors themselves, who need this, we're certainly happy to talk to them. But a lot of our focus in terms of direct outreach and networking is to elder service professionals. And because it kind of goes to your idea, Michael, about, people in different categories. So Michael has already volunteered an intro to somebody who's in the a different slice of senior care services. And otherwise, we are talking to folks, financial advisors, lawyers, doctors, physical therapists, and anybody else. So I'm trying to build on the side sort of this little network of elder service professionals. And, and so we're just trading, leads and other, network participants among the group. So that's basically our story.
Yeah, and elder care lawyers is probably a good focus.
Yes, that's exactly right.
So if anybody knows an elder care lawyer or, somebody who works, I don't know, what else would be a good category?
Well, a lot of the financial advisors, right, are worried about your entire family,
Mhm.
right? It's just you, but what about your children? What about your parents? So we found those to be pretty good, a pretty good source as well.
Right.
I
Right.
think you
And
also need, my wife's going through this right now with her mother, but I think also you need something like nursing homes and, and rehabilitation type centers too, because, that's something that people are looking into, and it's very confusing.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. 100%, Kath. In fact, one of the things we have on our sort of our marketing roadmap is once we have a little bit of scale, we definitely want to go to the institutions, right? The nursing homes and the care agencies, and say and be able to play in that space. Right now, we're kind of a little bit fledgling, but that's definitely on our path.
But you could probably micro target too, because if you have like a concentration of people in Riverdale, for example, and there's
Yes.
a couple of nursing homes in Riverdale
Mhm.
that you could go to and say, we've got 30 people that could help your residents get to doctors, whatever they need when their
Mhm.
kids are not available to do that. I mean, now because of COVID, I'm not sure how that works, but there's some restrictions, obviously.
Yeah, I'm gonna second that because the nursing home is the one who would make the call for my dad because of the way that whole system worked down here, at least for that particular nursing home. So I would definitely make contact with nursing homes. And let me tell you, you don't have much competition down here because they used to call the same god awful system that was torture from everybody. The nursing home, my father and me,
Wow.
all parties involved hate the system and there's nobody else. So we were stuck.
Okay. That's
So-
good
There
to
you
know.
go.
Yeah, I
Great.
would definitely
It's
get in
Not
touch
just
terrible.
with
It's
not just a
great.
green field, it's a gold mine.
It is a
Yes.
gold mine down here. I mean, if I could tell you the living hell that I went through,
Oh.
ooh, that's why I said, where were you years ago? Where-
Sorry.
That's okay.
Dogs are commenting. Okay.
Hopefully better late than never.
Yeah, right.
Thank. Yeah. Well, Exactly. So thank you so much, Victor.
Thanks.
I will drop in the chat the order in which people showed up. And I guess the order in which we will have people present. I think today, and I should probably put this, give you a little more advanced notice. If people have specific examples of clients, case studies they want to talk about, or anybody in particular that they want to meet, that would be a great way to change it up a little bit. So Jason, you are up. I'll do 2 minutes. It's not going to be as tight today, so if you go over, that's fine. But I'm going to switch to gallery view so you get your picture in there. Go for it.
All right. So Jason Kramer with Cultivize, and I think we pretty much all know each other here. But I'd like to actually just talk about like what we've been doing lately, since I think most of you already know kind of what we do. Some of the companies we recently signed on is a robotics company that makes devices to check temperature in crowded spaces. The scenario there was they've been using 5 different CRMs over the last few years with a company that's not cash flow positive, and realized that the problem they were having wasn't the software, is they didn't understand how to leverage the software. So companies that already have a CRM, they're just really not getting anything out of it, or as much as they desire, have been really good fits for us. And also companies that are using free versions of HubSpot. I just had a great call yesterday with a company that has 300 customers. They're on track in 2 years to be in the top 100 of Inc.'s 100 list. And they use the free version of HubSpot, and they were sort of blown away that HubSpot is like $40,000 a year to use. And so while it sort of started off where it seemed like they wanted to go with HubSpot, by the end of the hour-long call, they're like, your system sounds really attractive. So anybody that that's using like free or lower cost CRMs, that's a more established business in the 5 to 20 million range, is also like a really good fit just to have conversations. And so I've just posted also a new article today about those companies that have too many leads. That's another problem. So if you guys want to check that out on LinkedIn, Audrey, I'm not part of your post, but your pod, but maybe you'll see that. And that article really just goes through what is the problems if you have too many leads and why it's important to have a system to follow up with them. So Jason Kramer with Cultivize.
Are we connected so we can see each other's
We are.
stuff?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And also, I just want to say thank you to Jeff for being responsive to a lead that I passed him last week.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Also, I passed your information off to 2 different people. I don't know if any of it landed as well too, but I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you,
That's
Michael.
what it's all about. And at some point in the not too distant future, I will have lead forms so that people can actually use the system, the website for making lead introductions, and we can track it much easier. Okay, so that was Jason. Ken, you are up.
I'm Ken Simon. For those of you who don't know me, which is a couple of you, I do B2B marketing, work with companies, small, mid-sized companies, helping them understand who their customers are, what markets for them to target, and then help them develop strategies for them to go after those markets. For example, I've worked with customers, worked with one insurance carrier to help them. They wanted to go into a new market, but had no idea what markets, or this division had no idea what markets or what industries they wanted to target. So which sort of like confused me, because they had this whole marketing department on the other side. But anyway, but I came in, I ended up interviewing their sales team in each of the regions to understand what their marketing appetite was. And then based on that, I was able to narrow down the top 10 industries they should target. And then within each one of those industries, what their needs were for what they were looking for in terms of insurance products. And then help them develop a strategy to go after each one of those markets. And one of the things we wanted to make sure was that each one of their regions was, there was a good coverage, so each region sort of had I guess the right balance of, customers and prospects in each region. So that also helped narrow it down. So that's what I help companies do on one end, and others, I'll develop digital marketing campaigns and strategies as well for companies to go after their markets.
Are you using LinkedIn a lot for your clients?
I've used LinkedIn. I've used, we're starting to use, LinkedIn was great. And we used, LinkedIn groups for a while until I started getting banned from them. Where we were posting this LinkedIn pods is something brand new. I had never heard of this before. So that's something interesting. But we've used LinkedIn. Now we're using Facebook, and Instagram is starting to take off too. I think Twitter's a waste, truthfully, but I've never had much success with Twitter, though we have used it. But that's what we're using, and we're finding more people using Facebook and Instagram now.
Interesting, even in the B2B space. Okay.
Yeah, because people are wasting the time looking at their Instagram feeds, and you never know. And actually, Instagram advertising is kind of effective. Facebook too. LinkedIn advertising is just very expensive, more so than anybody else. But then you should also, the funny thing is we also played around with Bing advertising and Yahoo. And one of the things we found is that Bing, while it doesn't have the reach as Google, it attracts an older audience. For whatever reason, one of the things, the people who use Bing that we discovered were more or less like baby boomers and a little older, as opposed to Google. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because it comes Bing comes on like PCs that are already, once they buy it.
It's also nostalgia. I mean, people definitely think of Bing and they think of Bing Crosby, right?
Who knows? Maybe it's not singing. I don't know, but who knows?
All right. Thank you so much.
You don't want to hear me sing, but that's okay.
By the way, Audrey just posted her, I guess it was an invite to Clubhouse.
Yeah, tomorrow. It's every Wednesday at 9 a.m.
It said
Eastern Standard Time.
I clicked on it and it said it was closed or something like that. This
Does
conversation.
anybody need invites to Clubhouse? I do have invites. If you
Are
want.
you on Clubhouse?
Yes, I am. Oh,
No,
am.
I mean, Michael, if you're
I
not
am
on
not
Clubhouse.
yet. I am not yet.
Okay, so we need to send you an invite. So download the app.
Okay.
And then once you download the app, when you can click on all the links, like the one I just shared. So I'll talk about it after Mark.
Okay, good. Let's see, was it Mark? Is Mark next?
I'm next.
Mark, you are next. Go for it.
Hi, Mark Tebow, Growth Strategy Advisors. And I think everybody on this call pretty much knows what I do. By the way, I'm on Clubhouse, and I actually have had to turn all the announcements off. It's like, I get like sometimes 10 an hour. It goes in cycles, but I do like it. I'm on there for Palm Beach Tech and a couple other organizations, but it's just, it's a lot. So I turn off the announcements and then I just go on when I go on. But anyway, one of the things that I've been doing a lot lately, and I've been enjoying it, is I think I probably told people that I've been working through SEMrush. And I love the fact that SEMrush is international. So I get to talk to all sorts of people from Ireland and Prague and Czechoslovakia and even Russia and Ireland. And it's actually really, really cool to be able to do that.
I'm not sure everybody's familiar with SEMrush. Could you give a?
Oh, SEMrush is an SEO platform, and it's one of the top three. It's basically, and they really do most everything, and including now you can even schedule posts. It's not quite as much as like Hootsuite or something like that, but you can schedule posts. And but mainly what they do is you can go on there and you can build a project. And you can't always get the social media of every project, but if you go down the one side, you can pretty much find out organic, inorganic ads, what their social content is for almost any entity, and as well as finding competitors. And that's what I use it for a lot. So if I'm looking at somebody, I'll immediately go in and see who their competitors are. And It's actually pretty interesting, but it's really an SEO platform. It's how to improve your website and make it better.
Funny, they call it
It's really good.
SEMrush if it's SEO.
Yeah, it's SEMrush.
Yep. Okay. I don't know if anybody is using Jeff. Are you using that since you're in that space? You don't use SEMrush? Okay. Audrey, then Jeff, and then I will go. Audrey,
Okay.
you're up.
Hi, everybody. I'm an attorney and I focus on advertising, marketing, and promotions law. So I would work with just about everybody in this call to help clients be legally compliant with advertising law, intellectual property law, privacy law, and of course, all our favorite ADA online compliance. Since there's so many lawsuits, I got a third call yesterday of somebody being sued. So apparently it was Apparel Week last week, where the last 3 calls I got were small online businesses selling women's clothing. So like I usually explain, they pick up an industry and then the letters go out. So that was the industry that got hit last week or 2 weeks ago. That was my third call yesterday, trying to get this person to be legally compliant. But unfortunately, this person's website is so messed up that the question has become, is it worth spending the time and the money fixing it? Or is it better to just start from scratch and have it be legally compliant across all 4 fields of law? And interestingly, it's a company that the founders actually are abroad, and this particular country has a very strong privacy law. So on that perspective, it's like we need to seriously beef up all the privacy on that website as well. And as far as tomorrow is concerned, I have a clubhouse. It's called Legal Chat, Charla Legal. And I invite different people to come on board and talk about different legal issues. Tomorrow, I have Scott Mason coming on, and we're going to talk about whether or not you need a law degree, because he's done a lot of different things with his law degree. So it gives people a different perspective of what to do with law degrees. Unlike me, I practice. So, so it should be very interesting. And, we talk about all kinds of things like multicultural compliance. I mean, multicultural advertising, ADA compliance, privacy compliance, advertising law compliance, you name it, we hit it. If there's any topic that I haven't done yet, since it's fairly new, please let me know. And then I'd be happy to talk to you about it and maybe even co-host with one of you guys. But yeah, definitely join us every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's 9 to 10. If we make it to 10, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, no need to sit there if no need to, right? So bring questions and we're happy to answer your legal questions. This is very informal and literally it's just to educate and to help businesses protect themselves. Thank you.
I assume you've got the disclaimer in there that I can't provide legal services unless you're a client of mine or something like that.
Oh, God, yes. That's the first thing I say. And every time I refresh the page, I have to keep saying it. Now, I do try to record these on Zoom because I'm trying to figure out how to upload them onto my YouTube channel. So, but I haven't got there yet. I have some technical challenges to overcome.
Jeff, you are up.
Awesome. So I am the owner and founder of Ethic Advertising Agency. We're a digital advertising and creative shop in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Victor, there's actually, I have a client that's in the home care space as well in Pittsburgh. So if is that an ideal connection? I'll try to link you guys up, see if that's something interesting. Because the biggest problem he has more work than he has staff members. So if you guys run into any staffing kind of solutions, I know that he'd be interested in sharing stuff like that because like I said, there's just he's having a hard time finding people to do all the work that needs to be done, especially since Pittsburgh's an older demographic where he's at. True. So just make a note of that. So am I
I can
able
read
to
Victor's
share
lips.
my,
He's saying thank you.
oh yeah. Am I able to share my screen?
Yeah,
I grabbed,
please.
so we have a couple of case studies on our website. I figured that showcasing 2 of them could be a neat way to kind of showcase what we do. We have a big focus on programmatic digital advertising. We do social media, we do pay-per-click, we do some native-based stuff. We were born as a full-service ad agency, and then we have developed these niches. But a lot of other agencies utilize us because we're working directly on a DSP. Our pricing is fair and our expertise is solid. So this is the results of a campaign that we did last year for a veterinary emergency clinic that has multiple locations across the country. And we utilize our geofencing technology. So identifying, they're focused on emergency services. So what we did is we put geofences around regular veterinary clinics, dog parks, pet stores that are local to them as well too, and then serve these individuals that entered into these locations ads for the next 30 days related to this client's particular service. And, you know, we had some great results with it. We had over 10% conversion rate, almost 3,000 conversions across the board. And a conversion for this is going to be anytime someone enters it in there. So there's multiple converters with this as well too, but they had a really great result from just this one tactic that we utilized for this one particular client. But just kind of narrowed down using some of our geofencing technology that we have. The other example, which is the other side, is the creative that has nothing to do with the digital aspect of it, is Giant Eagle, which is a grocery store around this area. I came in, their HR department asked us to kind of update some of their what's called Team Member Care Fund, which is a nonprofit that they have internally that staff members can donate a little bit. And then if a staff member falls on hard times, then they have this fund they can dip into to kind of help their teammates out a little bit. So we redid their logo, we did some brochures, some posters, like the basic stuff that the corporate entity wanted. And we said, well, the real problem is the fact that people are donating, but nobody's using it. Nobody's like remembering that they, you know, if their house burns down or if they have a medical expense where they need to get around and everything, that this is available to them. So all the basic stuff that everybody sees is great. And what we did is we surprised them with a design that's on my screen right now of like almost like a emergency card or insurance card that was printed on like a nice plastic that can fit in a purse or a wallet that stays with them, that has all the information of how to participate as a donor, as also participate if you do fall in hard times. And it really kind of changed the dynamics of long-term awareness, as opposed to putting up a poster that's going to get taken down in 30 days, or a brochure that somebody has and then they pitch it after a little bit or it gets lost in their drawer as well too. So a little bit of creativity, thinking outside the box of how to solve a problem using creative versus just doing what the client asks us to do. But that's me.
Thank you, Jeff. I may have a contact for you at a company. It's a startup, but I think they're selling, I think they've sold 150,000 cases of their product, which is actually prevents larger dogs from getting the hip problems that they often get.
Oh, cool.
Like Physo Max for dogs.
Yeah.
It's like $2 a day.
If I wasn't doing this, if I wasn't doing this, I was going to go to veterinary school. So
really?
Pet related stuff, nonprofits. I'd love to work with it. Like I get excited about those things as well too. We're in talks right now with a company that's the only universal chip reader company for pets as well. Because apparently, this was news to me. If you put a chip in your pet, there's a bunch of different brands, a bunch of different places. So if your pet gets lost and they scan it, they don't have the right scanning tool for that match, then they're like, we don't know, we know there's a chip in there, we don't know whose dog or cat this is. So stuff like that gets me really excited.
All right, thank you. And I will give myself 2 minutes. So you all know me, Michael Bendit. My company is Software Development Resources. I've gotten a couple of inquiries just recently that are, I guess, really right up my alley. I have a call with the client, the prospect today. And she is creating sort of a specialized speakers bureau for medical experts. It came out of the COVID thing, and where there's a lot of people who are experts, but only a few are well known. And so the ones who are well known are getting all the requests, and they can't handle them all. And yet there's thousands of other people who have different experience in virology, and they're not getting any exposure because they don't have the name out there. So this is going to be sort of a network where people, mostly journalists, can find people with specific knowledge around a given topic, and also points of view. So it's a fairly complex web application, with different constituents. You've got the experts, you've got the journalists, you've got other people. Obviously, you have the administrators, even thinking about other types of service providers like media training people that could be on it. So, that's a typical project. It'll probably be in the $15,000 to $25,000 range. So even though that's fairly complex, I have teams that can do it, cost effectively. Another one that we've already started working on is something similar. It's sort of a community site for people involved in live events. So everybody from the people that deliver or set up trade show booths to whatever. I mean, hopefully they're planning on getting back into the live world, but there's no similar network of providers in that space. So, we're building, I think that one's about a $25,000 job. So those are great, kind of leads for me, people that have an idea around a new concept. Those I would categorize as sort of the startup space, because it's not specifically marketing. It's an application that is in essence the core of their business. So that's my time. Just a couple things I wanted to remind people about. We do have that webinar, if anybody's interested, or if you want to share it, called Networking for Introverts, which is tomorrow at 12:30. It was on, a link to it is in my newsletter. So take a look at that. I finally, I think it was right after I promised that people who sent new members would get featured. My featured function broke on my website, but it got fixed this morning. So if you go to trustref.net, which I'm going to bring up now, share screen, hold on. So let me expand it. And you scroll down, we have 3 featured members. So Jason, Get Visible. I set mine up as an example. Joe Magid sent a couple of new members. He's a sponsor, but he can also be featured. And this is what yours will look like. And also, if you go to either your category or all the category of marketing and sales, you will show up on top. So if I went to digital marketing, Get Visible will also be on the top of digital marketing. So this is through the end of the spring. So if anybody can introduce 2 new members from the time they introduce that second member, they will get featured for right until the end of June. And you can brag about it. In fact, I'm going to put this in the website as well. I'm sorry, in the newsletter as well, so that people can see what it does for you.